There's 175 or so million people overweight or obese. 130 million of them are pre-diabetic.
You've obviously accumulated a ton of success, and you've seen your brand across the White House. It's global now.
I'd say there's two most important things. One is
Welcome back to Built in America. We have Carl Daikeler here, who's the founder of BODi. Carl, good to have you on.
Thanks, Sam.
Carl, why do people struggle with change?
Well, I think change is the unknown. Change is change offers outcomes that you can't necessarily predict. They might be embarrassing for some people if they don't get the outcomes that they want. So maybe don't even bother, or they're unsure of whether they're prepared for what that change might be. So, when you're staring in the face of unknown, you're going to maybe pause. And I think that no matter how exciting the prospect of transformation might be for people in whatever that is, personal, physical, professional, there's that leap, of the caterpillar becoming the butterfly, and you don't know if that cocoon's going to open back up. So I think there's a lot of dynamics there that can hold people back.
Carl, you're one of the most well-known infomercial companies in the world. You had a lot of ties to P90X. BODi is the name of your company, and your goal is to transform change into people to get a better physique. If you're trying to get to their dream outcome in the least amount of friction as possible, what are some steps along the way that you would tell your clients or people who are buying your product in order to do on a daily basis?
I'd say there's two most important things. One is don't be random about it. You need to have some sort of step-by-step plan. And that's why the company has been successful. You referenced P90X. P90X was developed and marketed in the time of Bowflex, right? So we were observing Bowflex infomercials at the time and saying, well, okay, there's Bowflex is just another way to recreate what gravity can do, but gravity's free. So maybe with a few dumbbells, but a plan, we could give people a predictable outcome. So that's really what the company's been doing now for a little over 26 years. And that is creating step-by-step plans that people can do that'll get them to the results that they want. So that's the I would say, primary thing, at least for me.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be the perfect plan, but just know that there's some sort of proof that these steps, what I call an empirical proof of observing other people, that's going to get you an outcome that you can navigate. And the other is, I would say, have some support system that is going to help keep you accountable, because as you go into the unknown, you're going to hit obstacles that will challenge you to your very core. And unless you're surrounding with some people who have either been there or who want you to succeed and will help push you over those speed bumps, or have achieved their own success at something and understand what it takes to not give up and overcome obstacles, it's precarious for anybody to just jump in and think that they're going to go it alone and keep the faith, keep the hope. So those are the two big things, I think, for anybody. And, hey, somebody's trying to lose 20 pounds, get a plan, surround yourself with a few people. We've got a community at BODi that we call the BODi experience, just so people have a place to go when it's week 2 and they're sore and they're like, should I keep going? I haven't lost any inches. I haven't really lost any weight. Maybe they're retaining water and they're like, this can't be working for me. And then all of a sudden they get a message from 15 other people who are like, yeah, that's exactly what happened for me. But then week 3, everything changed. Or by week 4, it was a total renaissance. So those are the two things.
Carl, as someone who's changed probably millions of people's lives and made them lost, millions of pounds across millions of people, there's a caveat here in the sense that you are transforming behaviors and you're transforming identity at the same time. With what you're selling from infomercials, it's mainly behaviors. Do this many reps consistently and you'll see the results. But you look at it like a Tony Robbins, you go to these events, he goes in there and changes people's identity, right? And with fitness, you have to also go on an identity challenge and figure out who you really are. As someone who's been in the space for so long, how do you understand how much time and effort you can spend to someone's identity as well as to their behavior to make sure they're on the right path?
I'm not that sophisticated, Sam. Honestly, I would say, like, I literally have never broken it down that way, and I don't think that the company's tinkering with psychology as much as we're enabling people to. What I would say is we would help them prioritize finding a why. So I suppose their why for a shift, whether it could be a profound desire to extend their health span, right? So that the not just lifespan, but your quality of life. So you'll stay mobile and agile, and perhaps get the benefits of reducing anxiety or depression without medication. If it's mild to moderate, the science says that exercise can be better than medications for that. So we're enabling people with tools, but the people themselves, if they don't have a solid why to stand on when the going gets tough, it's easy to go off the rails. It's easy to quit. So we have a series on the platform. It's a motivational series. It's about 15 installments where we help people navigate the motivational challenges that come with lifestyle transformation. And I mean it when I say lifestyle transformation. It's difficult for people to get up in the morning and do this work. People are busy, or they've got their jobs, they got their family, and now they've got this massive distraction of this phone. We call it a phone, but it's a center of distraction with all these things that can completely obliterate whatever objectives you have if you get addicted to the dopamine hit that you're going to get from whatever thing that you open on that. So we created this series to help people come back to their center and find the piece of their central motivation, or what we call a why. And that can help them both achieve the physical transformation, but also find the kind of strength that a Tony Robbins or a motivational or life or psychological transformation person might aspire to do, because somebody all of a sudden realizes, I can do this. I can show up at 5:30 a.m. You put that together for 90 days, and it's, in addition to the muscles that you're going to build of your body, the muscle of resilience and confidence comes right along with it. And it's a byproduct, but I don't think it's so all I'm trying to do is facilitate that transformation in a deep enough way that perhaps it transcends what you might get if you just walk into a gym, sign up for it, and then they're like, okay, there's all the equipment and there's some cardio and there's some lifting. Good luck to you. We try to put people on a journey that will enable them to both have a reliable physical transformation, but build those muscles so that it's not just 21 days and done or 60 days and done, but it starts to become something of their foundation and bedrock. And I think that's why it's been successful. But, you're saying something interesting. You keep saying, leader in infomercials. We haven't done infomercials for 8 years. I mean, that's the dinosaur. It's like we were a leader in the horse buggies, it's over. But, now it's a nonlinear marketing. And that's the challenge, I think, for all transformation companies or fitness companies, is trying to communicate with people in a way where they understand the problem that can be solved, They believe that there's proof that that problem can get solved, and it's a compelling value. And that's very difficult to do in a 15-second TikTok.
It
So
is.
it's a different model now, but luckily we had the critical mass from the infomercial time. So you got millions of people who, like you said, who have transformed their lives. So they share that with people, and that's the real credibility. And then our job is to create programs that are compelling and interesting and create a relationship with people that they can do right at home.
Carl, as you talked about how infomercials was your business about 8 years ago, and now things have changed. Tell us about the last 25 plus years of building BODi. I know it was called Beachbody before, now it's BODi. Tell us the journey from day one, and then what you learned, 25 plus years later.
Well, we didn't start out to necessarily be a transformation company. I knew that infomercials at the time could be a very compelling way to you could develop a solution for anything. It could be beauty, it could be fitness like we do, it could be helping people cook. So the infomercial, what they call the long form program or the long form advertisement, could present a problem and solve that problem, and then provide proof that that works. And we found that it was a very compelling offer proposition to develop content that could be delivered on VHS tapes at the time, and then DVDs, and now obviously digital. That could be far more cost effective than hiring a trainer, and far more productive and efficient than just going and wandering around the gym or downloading random YouTube videos. Like, we would put people on a real journey. And that was super productive for us until about, I'd say, 2016, 2017, when the infomercial got displaced because people were cord cutting. So you got Netflix, you got the streaming services, and all of a sudden the place that long form advertising happened wasn't there anymore. And we had to find another way to communicate with people. And that's really been the journey. In the middle of that, the pandemic happens, and the supply demand changes, because all of a sudden the entire supply of fitness got cut off because people couldn't go into a gym. So demand for home fitness absolutely spiked, which created this swell of in-home fitness companies. Obviously, the birth of Peloton and Tonal and Mirror. Then literally within months of the pandemic ending, I would call it the great home fitness dislocation, because it was sort of like, a tsunami wave, right? Rolls in, and then it's going to roll right back out. And people are like, I don't want to be trapped in my home. And so we lost the infomercial, and now all these competitors are around us, and everybody's like, the demand just evaporated. So it's been a process of reinvention for the last, I'd say, 3.5 years, because the problem is still every bit as acute. Like, there's 175 or so million people overweight or obese. 130 million of them are pre-diabetic or have type 2 diabetes, and half of them don't even know that they are in danger of diabetes. So, like, the problem is real. And so you keep going, and you try to solve it, and you try to communicate it in a way that's compelling and gratifying. But that's certainly been I would say, to be lucky enough to be with a company that's been around for 26 years also means you're going to suffer dramatic change and evolution of your business model. And if you're not constantly reinventing and paying attention to what's going on in the market, you're going to get left behind. And you will be that horse and buggy company that all of a sudden is getting passed by Teslas.
Talk about reinventing. You recently announced that you're rebooting the P90X, first new installment in it's programmed in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
What makes this version so different?
Well, it's really an exciting time for us. P90X was a phenomenon at the time, because certainly nobody in the infomercial business in 2005, when we created the first P90X with Tony, that was about showing people that hard work was going to get them results. And the infomercial industry was like, you can't do that. You can't show people doing push-ups and pull-ups and wall squats. That's not. No, we show people smiling while they're working out, and God forbid they sweat. So I was like, well, I bet there's I wouldn't believe that pitch. So I believe something that's going to be hard work, and I bet you there's a million more like me. So P90X, over the course of a couple of years of trial and error, became a phenomenon that literally they were doing it in the White House, and the Secret Service was doing it, and there were installations and military installments, like military bases had entire like tents dedicated to P90X. It was an absolute phenomenon. And so we did P90X1 and P90X2 and P90X3. We had a series of P90X one-on-one, I think it was P90X one-on-one, where Tony was just in his gym and he was training people. And then, it sort of went its way. I think the last one that we produced was probably 2013 or 14 is the last one. And we've learned a lot since then. And people always ask us, can we get more P90X? And we met this guy. We haven't announced him who he is yet, but I met this guy, and he is so phenomenal. And his approach to what is now called functional fitness, which is sort of, I would call the evolution of P90X, which is both focused on transformation and extreme training or intense training at home, but also being very careful about function and avoiding any injury, right? So it's I would call it a maturing of the brand. And so when you find a great talent, look, there was more than one James Bond, right? And but the James Bond series is something that you can watch over and over again, but you want it to keep going. And so so P90X is getting its next Bond, and we're calling it P90X Generation Next. And to accompany it, in the spring of 2026, when this launches, we're in testing now. We test every program that we do, and so we'll test it and shoot it this fall, and then release it in probably March. It'll be accompanied by a full line of supplements that'll be under the P90X brand. But what's really interesting about them is those supplements will be sold at retail. We've never really put any product at retail in significant distribution. And what's going to be cool for people is, for the first time ever, people who buy the supplements, there'll be a QR code on it, and that purchase will unlock the content for them for a period of time. So whether they have a subscription to the BODi.com platform or not, that's BODi with an I, they'll be able to get access to P90X Generation Next just in exchange for purchasing a month of, let's say, the protein powder or the pre-workout or the energy drinks. So I'm excited for this evolution of it. It's going to be really cool. This trainer is awesome. And I think there's going to be a new wave of people who realize that you can get outrageous results that make you feel great, improve your energy, improve your strength, and get you absolutely jacked right at home in about 45 minutes a day.
I mean, it's so exciting to bring that back. If I think of any sort of viral sensation, all you think about from an infomercial perspective or a in-home gym perspective is P90X or a Bowflex. So there was probably a lot of P90X failures out there, copycats as well, right? And they didn't take off. So how do you know, Carl, what a viral product really looks like? How do you know how to go build one, right? Because there's so many people who were just left in the dark and never made it. And why did P90X make it?
That's a good question, Sam. I would say, and if I don't think I don't know that I've got it wired. Otherwise,
you do it 10 times over again.
Yeah. I mean, you ultimately, here's what I think we do that's special. First off, we find talent that has a rare ability to both manage the training in a way that it is great training and cueing and content, and it's interesting. They have a way of presenting it that makes people feel like they're having a real experience. And over the course of 90 days, like this trainer, you get to know them. Like you're with them for 45 days and or 45 minutes every morning, and you're getting to know that. So the way we help trainers unlock their potential for presentation, first we have to spot that potential, and then we have to enable it. And then I think what we do that just doesn't happen, like that you don't get this on these YouTube videos or Instagram little snippets or reels that people put up with training. We test this stuff. I mean, over the course of 26 years, there's multiple times that we've had programs that didn't make it to the finish line. They never got launched because the people didn't get the results. There was something about the hook or about the presentation or the trainer that just didn't deliver. So we say, hey, sorry, we're not gonna shoot this one, because we test it first, then we go into production after we've made some changes. But if it doesn't pass the scrutiny, it doesn't get put into the market, where I think other trainers or production companies might think, hey, let's just produce a workout video and they're going to do jumping jacks and push-ups and pull-ups and whatever, and everybody's going to get results. And then until you prove it and you accompany it with a nutrition plan that lets people eat foods that they love, but shows them how to do it so that they'll actually get results, you don't have a holistic approach. And that's what BODi has done since day one.
Tell us about the A/B testing a little bit. I think when a lot of people launch products today, they don't test enough. And it seems like a company like BODi would go do multiple iterations over and over again to go figure that out correctly.
Well, it never stops. Like, I don't know, you do end up with, and often with something that's what you would say in rollout. But we have a program right now, Belle Vital, it's called.
It's a women's health program.
That's right, women's hormone health. And, we launched that in one configuration as a standalone sort of unit for about $300, and it did okay. But the results that we were getting from women were exceeded all of our expectations. Like, I've been communicating with a woman who just finished the program. She lost 27 pounds in 12 weeks, but she had acid reflux for 11 years, that on day 3, she was able to stop taking antacids before bed, and her acid reflux just went away because she got this stuff straightened out. Her inflammation or joint pain went away. Now that's one anecdotal story, but it demonstrates that this is the product that women need, whether they're perimenopause, menopause, or they're just hormones are out of balance because their lifestyle is out of balance. So their cortisol, insulin resistance, like there's things disrupting their normal body function that can be changed. So we need to find a way to make that highly accessible to people. So we said, all right, let's put it in the member library. It goes into the member library on BODi.com in late August, and it's got this Pilates program that sort of mimics what women could do on a Reformer or Cadillac or at a Pilates studio. And instead of paying, $40 for a class, the whole program just costs what the subscription is. Now you still got to buy the supplements. You still need the little bit of equipment, but that's, altogether that's like less than $150 or $200 to get started. So all of this means we are constantly paying attention to, is the problem big enough to solve? And do people need this aspirin for their headache? And does this aspirin work? And if all the answers to that are yes, you just keep going, keep testing, keep paying attention to what's going on in the marketplace. And you're going to, and if you never give up and you have the resources, you're going to find a breakthrough as long as that problem persists.
Carl, you've been in rooms with massive investors, celebrities, millions of customers. People have influenced the brand in ways that you probably couldn't imagine. What's been some of the most surreal and defining moments of BODi by connecting with some of the biggest people on the planet?
Well, surreal, I would say I've had two really surreal moments. But the first one was actually the one that got me into this business in the first place. Was I had developed a program called 8-Minute Abs before I started this company. It was the sort of the beginning when I was like, oh wait, this virtual training idea, there's something to this. And I remember, so we created that and was selling on TV, and it was doing really well, and it became sort of a joke in late night TV. They would talk about it. And then I was sitting watching Something About Mary, the movie. I was in the theater, and all of a sudden this whole scene happens where a guy's like, have you seen that 8-minute abs? Well, I'm going to do something better. I'm going to create 7-minute abs. And I'm sitting in this theater like, am I, is this happening right now? Like, that's a product that I thought of in the shower, and here it is in a Ben Stiller movie. Like, it was just blowing my mind. So that was like, that was I went out for ice cream that night. But I would say that the one story that really just like, wow, is this real? Was when I was at I got invited to a fundraiser by my attorney and friend, and it was for the reelection of Obama. And so we're at this event. You're in a big ballroom, and Michael, my friend, says, "Hey, let's stand over here. I think this is the door that he'll come through, because otherwise, if we don't get him right then, we'll never meet him, because there's hundreds of people here." So it turns out we were right at the door. Like, Secret Service comes through. There's the president and walks right up to us. And Michael says, "Mr. President, I want you to meet Carl Daikeler." And my co-founder was John Congdon. These are the guys that started the company Beachbody and helped create P90X. And literally, the president of the United States says, "P90X? My wife does P90X and I can barely keep up with her." And then he points and he goes, "And all these Secret Service guys are doing P90X. So you guys are doing something right." And, finished up the conversation, and he walked away. And I turned to John. I'm like, did that just happen?
So
Is
cool.
P90X in the White House, for crying out loud? And literally, here's a last part of the story. We also found out that, there's always partisan politics and partisan fighting between Republicans and Democrats. But in the congressional gym, they created a space that was literally the bipartisan workout space for P90X.
Wow.
And they would talk about reach across the aisle, and they would work out together and be workout buddies, following Tony Horton and the P90X program there in the congressional gym. Like, you can't make this kind of stuff up. And it's just crazy that something that's just like a little workout video, right? And how big a deal could this be? And then all of a sudden, you find out that they're ripping the DVDs and selling on street corners in China. Like, well, how does that happen?
You've obviously accumulated a ton of success, and you've seen your brand across the White House. It's global now. It's changed people's lives. You've seen success monetarily, and I want to know what success means to you today.
Yeah, I struggle with that, Sam. I can't say that, because my objectives were way bigger than we've ever come close to. So those objectives of, having 10 million subscribers or helping really reverse the trend of obesity, which I think is still a riddle that's got to be solved. It's very difficult. We've made an impact on people's lives for sure, but and I'm proud of those success stories, and definitely I've had some financial success, but I'm running a public company that is a small fraction of its original valuation because of this dislocation of in-home fitness. And I need to restore that value to where people came in good faith to participate in the revolution in healthy transformation. And that's what our intent is. So I can't say that I'm happy about, I can't say I'm successful right now. I've had successes, but this mission is far from accomplished. And there's people who deserve to see this thing reach every corner of the planet and help the people who are suffering from processed food, ignoring their activity level, and who are going to suffer if we don't reach them. And I think we're the right company to reach them because it's agile and efficiently distributed, rather than having to buy fancy equipment to do it. So I got a long way to go. So I can't sit back and say, well, I can't light up a cigar and say, look at me. Let me tell you what it feels like to be successful, Sam. Because, here we are doing this interview on a Saturday, and I've got a full day of meetings, and followed only by a Sunday with a full day meeting. So we're not done yet.
Seems like you've moved your baseline forward a lot. It seems like every year the baseline just keeps going up and up and up, and it kind of can create this never enough scenario, right? And that's tough. Running a publicly traded company and comparing that with keeping a healthy lifestyle is somewhat of a dichotomy. How do you maintain that?
Well, you can't have one without the other, and you can't have the other without the one. So it's no good to me to be so ambitious that I ignore the very thing that I'm promoting, and that is my own health and fitness. But it's no good to me to be so fit that I'm ignoring the needs of the people that we've got to reach. So I've got to run the business so that the thing scales. So those two things are on. So they're supporting each other. The healthier I get, the better my example is, and I share that liberally on social media. Like, I post my workouts. It's funny. I got a direct message from a guy named Mike, and he was like, you inspire me. I'm gonna I think I'm gonna get started. My family's been after me to get started, and because I'm ignoring my health and I'm not keeping up with my kids, so I'm gonna act like I'm working out with you. So I'm gonna go online. I'm gonna dedicate my workout to Mike, and hopefully he's gonna join us, and he's gonna get on board and do it. And so these things work together, and I think part of why it works for us, at least for me, is I don't like working out. I don't like eating healthy. I like the shake, but it's chocolate. It's a chocolate shake. But if you said, "Hey, you want some superfoods?" Like, there's a handful of spinach that I blend in there because I ain't eating spinach. Otherwise, I couldn't get it into my mouth if I could see it. Right. So the fact that I'm solving my own problems constantly, the fact that I don't like getting out of bed early and starting that workout is just like, damn it, do I really have to do this? But I know that there's a million other people having the same thought at the same time. And I'm showing up as CEO to demonstrate that we can do this together. And I see them show up, and I'm like, all right, if they're showing up, then the CEO better damn well show up. And that's why this works, because I don't love it. And that means we're constantly trying to solve the problem for the other people that don't love it. And I think that's one of the reasons that the company is very different.
Carl, you have a massive amount of dedication to your life, to your line of work, to influencing people. If I were to ask you, what do you hope people say about you when you're not in the room? What do you think they'd say?
The guy does not quit, and his heart is in the right place to help people. And that is actually what I live on personally. That's what I say to myself when I'm not in the room. There's no quit here. And when it is difficult, and it is always difficult, the thing that keeps me going is there's somebody who's going to hear this podcast, who's going to go, I need to do this. 25 minutes a day sounds doable. That guy seems genuine. I'm gonna get started. And then this Saturday morning interview just became worthwhile. And then maybe that guy's gonna pass it on to somebody at work, and some woman, she's gonna be like, I'd like to get results like you're seeing. And then it's gonna pay forward. And that's what I want for this. So hopefully that's what people are going to hear.
Carl, you've been a wealth of knowledge. I genuinely appreciate you coming on the pod. I know you got a ton of stuff to do today. If there's one last message you can give to everyone here at the pod, what would that be?
Yeah, and that's a great, I love that question. because I hope, look, I don't know how many people listen to a podcast all the way through, but if anybody who got here, regardless of it's working with BODi or doing their own thing, I hope people start to prioritize. I hope there's a listener that says, I got to do something. If I want to stay mobile, if I want to stay out of the walker for as long as I can, into my 90s, into my hundreds. I want to avoid the walker with the 2 tennis balls under it. I want to be independent and fierce for longer. You've got to do that work now. And, or if somebody's already in that mindset and they're listening to this and be like, yeah, that checks out. I go to the gym, I do all this stuff. Well, with 175 million people overweight or obese and they're not working out regularly, I hope somebody shares this podcast with somebody and says, hey, I know you've been struggling. Maybe listen to this. Maybe look into this company. Maybe this is a way for you to start. And that is how companies like BODi or others will maybe break through, and we can go from the majority of people who are either suffering or on the verge of suffering from the collapse of decay, that we can turn this around and the majority of people become strong and energetic and healthy. And imagine how the world will change if that's the effect we have on the world. Man, if we can do that, what a ride. So that's what gets me psyched. And that's what I hope people get out of this podcast today.
Carl, you're the man. Where can people find out more about you?
Well, I think BODi.com, BODi.com is where you can plug into the ecosystem. And, whatever. If you want to watch an old guy work out and occasionally water ski or cliff dive, you can go to my Instagram at Carl Daikeler. It's Daikeler, and follow along for the journey and slip into the DMs. Let me know what you're doing so that I can maybe help steer you in the right direction so that people get results and they can feel good, because it's right there, man. It's a week of consistency out of their grasp. That's all we got to do. And that first day is going to prove that you can show up, and that first week is going to prove that things can change. So check us out at BODi.com. You can join the BODi Experience community for free, and maybe give me a follow on Instagram, and we can inspire each other.
I love it. That's the pod. Thanks, Carl.
Thank you, Sam.